Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me? Alhamdulillah. طيب. We'll wait for a few more minutes and then we'll get in inshallah ta'ala. I'm going to write the hadith. I think that was the only suggestion that we got thus far for takhrij. So let me just write it down. Brother Dhul Qarnayn, he wrote, or he had a screenshot. It says, حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن عمر بن الخطاب قال من باع عبدا وله مال فماله للبائع إلا أن يشرطه المبتاع يعني يجعله شرطا ليشتريه يعني. Okay. So that'll be our first hadith. If anyone has another hadith suggestion, feel free to just send it right here in right here in the chat box, inshallah ta'ala. And I do not mind at all. It's 5 after. We'll begin in approximately 1 minute, inshallah ta'ala. This is being recorded. Let me just, okay. So Brother Nicholas's question is being recorded, inshallah. Hey, we'll just give everyone 1 more minute to make it in, bi'idhnillah, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start. So let me go ahead and where's it? Oh, here we go. If you're near your Telegram, I just shared a cover of a book. If you are planning to specialize in the science of hadith, that would be a book that you would want to have, as the book is a regularly used manual in the science of hadith in the segment of ilm al-rijal, especially. And ilm al-rijal has to do with identifying narrators. I think we gave everyone enough time, so we're going to go ahead, inshallah ta'ala, and begin our class. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at-tawfiq wa sadad. Let's go ahead and begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Today is our first practical breakdown of what is takhrij. The way that my teachers taught me and the way that they were taught by their teachers is they would receive a narration, sometimes with a sanad, sometimes without the sanad. The first thing we do is go through the basic breakdown. Okay, so if you look what I'm about to do on this Word document, I'm going to write من باع عبدا وله مال فماله للبائع إلا أن يشترطه المبتاع. This is our matn, the matn of the hadith, or this athar, since it's being attributed to Umar ibn al-Khattab, which would make it what? Mawquf, right? So this is our first piece of information right here. It is mawquf because it stops where? At Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. That's the narration that our brother sent us. Yep, I wrote it down correctly. Okay. Now, because it is a statement of Umar, I could have technically went right to the books that are masanid. Okay, and I would go to kutub. Here, let's do this. Let's do kutub al-masanid. What is wrong with it? There we go. Wal ma'ajim. Why? Because they're done in an alphabetized structure based upon the sahabi alladhi rawa al-hadith, based upon the sahabi who narrated the hadith. So let's do an example, okay? So I'm going to open up Ash-Shamila. Ash-Shamila is a pretty famous library online. You can download it and you have access to a lot of books. So where do I want to go? We'll go to a famous musnad. Let's try sometimes they just write it al-musnad. All right, well, it's not giving me that, so I'll just scroll up right here and find, here, let's go to Ahmad Shakir's version of it. Now, if you look at the index right over here, you'll see after the introduction of the editor, then you go to Musnad al-Ashara al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah, the ahadith of the 10 who were promised paradise. If you look right here on the page, what's the first segment? Musnad Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. These are the ahadith that were narrated by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. Now, side note, Brother Zulqarnain, he gave us something with a full narration. It had Malik in it. I could just go back to Al-Muwatta, right? However, for the most part, when you have a hadith, you don't have a sanad, okay? So if we already have the sanad, then I'm going to go and I'm going to start looking at the narrators themselves. But we're not going to do that because there's prior steps which we're going over right now. So here I see Abu Bakr, so I'll expand this and I'll look, I see Musnad Umar ibn al-Khattab, okay? And then we look, Umar said, kada, 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 kada. Okay, that's not my hadith. That's not my hadith. This is how we did it. We didn't have a shamila back then. We literally sat there doing it by hand, going over every single hadith. Now, if you knew the Sahabi, you could easily go to his segment and look. Jameel. Now, we could always just come right here and say, Man ba'a Ba'abdan, right? That's the text of the hadith. Man ba'a abdan. So if I put that right into the search and see, look at this. We do have a chain. Now, is it the chain that the brother presented? No, but now we need to document it. So this is Ahmad saying that Sufyan told him, that Az-Zuhri told him, etc. We'll take it and we'll actually bring it into our document. Now, this would have been done manually, Kalam Jameel, back in the, before Shamila and before computers. Our Mashaykh would buy us those big engineering drawing books, right? And we'd use it to draw out the asanid. Okay, so this is Sufyan. Which Sufyan did Ahmad narrate from? So we have Qala Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He said, Haddathana Sufyan. Now, when it just says that, you would have to go back to the biography of Ahmad and see which Sufyan he met. Was it Thawri or was it Ibn Uyayna? Just yani, for the purpose of today's session, it is Ibn Uyayna. Kalam Jameel an al-Zuhri. That's Muhammad ibn Shahab al-Zuhri. An Salim. Who's Salim? Who knows who Salim is? Shamila is the complete printed book as is. أحسنت Abdullah. It is Ibn Abdullah ibn Umar. So عن أبيه here means Abdullah ibn Umar. But there's something interesting happening here, right? Here he's doing what? This one that we had up here was mawquf, right? But this narration in Muslim Imam Ahmad is marfu' to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this is a discrepancy, which we would have to basically investigate as well to determine why did Malik narrate it mawquf, but Ahmad narrated marfu', or better yet, Ahmad is a lot younger than Malik. So let's focus on Ibn Uyayna. Ibn Uyayna, he's narrating it marfu', because Ibn Uyayna would be in the same level as Malik. And you can think of it like this. If you're uncertain about the level of the narrator, think about the closest figure to these individuals. Who studied with Ibn Uyayna and Malik? Shafi'i, right? So both of them are at the same level as each other. Mumtaz. So we know from extensive research, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, when he got older, he started making mistakes. So while this might look good, this also might be a problem. We can't just be excited because we found a marfu' sanad. Because Ibn Uyayna, as Imam al-Shafi'i mentions in his works, when he went back to visit him, Sufyan changed certain things. Now, Sufyan is a great imam, right? But we're going to raise a little yellow flag here just to keep it in mind. Mumtaz? طيب, what if I don't have the Sahabi? What do I do? Let's go back to Shamila. Let's minimize Muslim Imam Ahmad. And again, if we go to the rest of, actually, let me show you something before I do that. No, sometimes what the like Imam Ahmad would do, he said, and I also narrate this from Fulan and Fulan and Fulan and Fulan, but that's not mentioned here. Okay. But now let's go ahead and minimize this. Say we don't have the narrator. What do? We go to the book called Atraf. Now I'll just write Atraf. Here's Atraf Musnad Anas, Atraf al-Gharaib. Here, look, here's Atraf Hadith Kitab al-Muwatta, done by Ad-Dani. Kalam Jamil. Again, if we knew, if we already know that it's Malik, so it's kind of straightforward, right? But I'm trying to not go that route so you can see the basics. So here's Atraf of al-Muwatta. So we reorganize everything based upon the Atraf. Harf al-Ain, Musnad al-Faruq, Umar ibn al-Khattab. We pull up the ahadith. He says there's 13 ahadith by Umar in al-Muwatta. So that means if we just flip the pages, we should come across what? This hadith. Now that's because we already know that it's in Malik, but I'm still going to show you the rest of the Atraf books right here. Let's just pull up this one. Bismillah. Okay, I'm just pulling out this hadith just to show you how Atraf and Masanid work. No, it should be coming up right around here. Bismillah. I'm just looking for that hadith in Ad-Dani's reorganization of al-Muwatta based upon the Atraf. Oh, interesting. Brother Dhul Qarnayn, that picture that you gave me, was that directly out of al-Muwatta? Maybe he relied on someone else. No, see, it's Yahya as well. Ajib, let's do this. Because there could always be a problem with that, which was narrated. Ajib. Okay, does not want to do anything. Let's go. Maybe he missed, maybe Danny missed it then or something because it's not showing up. Labas. It was an extra step anyway. Let's go back to the atraf that I wanted to show you. Here we'll go to Tuhfat al-Ashraf. Tuhfat al-Ashraf is one of the main go-to books to to go through. So if you instead of doing that, let's just do that. Here we go. Okay, so he says, seen hadith من باع عبدا وله مال فله ماله إلا أن يشترط المبتاع ومن أبر نخلا. الحديث seen means النسائي. Let me show you all the letters just so that way you can you'll be able to identify it. Here, let me just write it right here. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Kha means Bukhari. Mim means Muslim. Dal means Abu Dawood. Ta means At-Tirmidhi. Noon means An-Nasa'i, and sometimes they do it seen to refer to his larger work. Qaf is Ibn Majah because he's from Qazwin. These are your normal code letters that they use to refer to in these books. So right here, he's telling us it's in An-Nasa'i. So if I have the statement, I could go to An-Nasa'i. So if we pull up Sunan An-Nasa'i, we do not need Sahih An-Nasa'i because we're okay with An-Nasa'i alone. Here we go. Here's Sunan An-Nasa'i, and we'll just look for the same thing. So it's searching, taking forever, but it's searching. I don't know why it's been acting up the past couple days. Didn't like the latest update. Okay, let's try this. Anba'a thamaran, okay. So it's not showing up here, then we'll check, because Sunan Nasa'i, when usually you just say Sunan Nasa'i, you mean the smaller one, not the larger work. Here we go, see? It's right there. It's in the larger one. Kalam Jamil. And he's saying, Akhbarani Amr ibn Uthman from Al-Walid ibn Hafs, and that's Ibn Ghaylan from Sulaiman, from Nafi', from Ibn Umar, and also from Ata, and also from Jabir, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said what? Man ba'a abdan, to the end of the hadith. So we say, قال النسائي في الكبرى. And now look at this. It's another what? Don't worry about that why. That happens when they're trying to do different punctuation marks. This narration is also what? Marfu'. But this could also mean something else. If you look at the amount of narrators, Malik, we'll call him number one. Oh, wait, let's do it like this. We'll say one, right? Nafi' would be number two. Abdullah ibn Umar would be three. So from Malik to the end, you're talking about a smaller quantity of people. But if you look at the other ones, so you have Ibn Uyayna, you have Az-Zuhri, you have Salim, Salim, you have his father. And if Abdullah did narrate from his father from the Prophet, it would actually be another person. Nafi' from Ibn Umar, from Ata, from Ata, and from Jabir. So we have this hadith being mentioned mawquf and marfu'. It does appear as if Nasa'i wanted to do what? That Malik wanted to go with the shorter route, because that's really what it seems like. I mean, look at Nasa'i's from Nafi', from Ibn Umar, which would be 5 here. If Ibn Umar only got it from his father, 6. And then, well, Ata is a tabi'i, so there's someone missing there. So his narration would be 6, Jabir as-Sahabi, so we won't count him. So if we look at the asanid, they actually do look like Malik's chain would be shorter. And of course, as you know, and we went over this in Al-Bayquniyah, we said what? That the muhaddithin usually like the shorter chain. So it does appear like Malik's chain is shorter. And we'll still do more investigation. Okay. Now, another way, let me just close all this stuff out real quick. Now, another way to investigate this, right, it would be to go to the actual topics themselves. So I closed the Nasa'i, I'm opening it back up. I'm going to search it again. Here's the hadith. But don't worry about the center screen. Look at the index. And let's scroll up and look for the chapter. So, I don't think this index is correct, but let's look at the bab that it's in. Okay, so it's in Itq. It's part of Itq. So if we were to grab, let's open up now we don't know yet if it's in any other book. We'll just go ahead and open An-Nasa'i. And let's go to Itq. Bismillah. There's Shriba. Let's see, where does he have Bab al-Itq? He didn't do a chapter for Itq. Did he? I thought he did. No, okay, well, I mean, it could be in Buya. Let's go to Buya. I mean, it could also be to Buya because it started with what? Man ba'a abdan. That's kitabat al-shurut. Because remember, shurut would be something, conditions would make sense. Babu ma ja'a fi shara' al-abd bi'abdain. No, not necessarily. If we have something where it says selling and then having a condition, that would be a plausible location. And we call this madan al-mas'ala. Madan al-mas'ala, where the mas'ala ought to be. Bay'an bil khiyar, no, it wouldn't necessarily be there unless we have a bab bay' al-abd directly. Okay, let's see. في من يشتري العبد ويستغله ثم يجد به عيبا. Okay, no, it's not going to be there. All right, and this is basically what we would do. We would just go over the indexes, find a plausible location, go to those areas, and try to search for it by hand. So let's hit search and see if it's here. It is here. Where does he have it in? Look where he had it. Because if we go back to our Word document, look what we'll see. That there's a continuation in the text. See that continuation? Well, let me not make it in yellow, since you don't think it's like a nervous flag here. We'll just do it blue. You see that segment? وَمَنْ أَبْرَأَ نَخْلًا بَاعَهُ بَعْدَ تَأْبِيرِهِ فَلَهُ ثَمَرُ. Okay? And we also, that's in the Nasa'i's narration, and we also see it in Ahmad's narration, but we don't see it in Malik's narration that was up here. Okay, it's not there, that additional segment. So what At-Tirmidhi did, he added it in. Look at this. He added it in right there. And he added it on the section of buying nakhl after its ta'bir. Kalam Jamil. But oddly enough, if you look at his narrations, they're backwards. These ones say, it mentions the nakhl first, then it mentions the abd. And this is what Al-Layth or Qutayba ibn Sa'id, Qutayba, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, subhanAllah, I forgot his last name, but he's narrating from Layth, from Ibn Shihab, from Salim. And we're going to go ahead and take this one because we're going to go ahead and put it next to that other chain, the one that had Salim. See the one from Ahmad right here? Let's go ahead and add this here. We'll say Qala at-Tirmidhi, right? And we'll bring this one all right here. And if you notice, so an abihi, and we're going to make these green because of their matching. Look at that. From Ibn Shihab, right? But then Al-Layth, and that's Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. Al-Layth ibn Sa'd is the faqih of Egypt. With an abihi, does that fall under tadlis? Oh, which one? Which part are you talking about, Akhi al-Habib? Oh, an abihi. Okay, I understand what you mean now. No. That's not tadlis. No, because everyone knows who Salim is. So he's just saying my dad told me, basically. No. That's not tadlis. Kalam Jameel. Now, unless they say that Salim ibn Abdullah is a mudallis, then you might argue for that. But he's not known for that. Kalam Jameel. And also this narration is marfu'. So this is another marfu' narration. But again, as we mentioned, if you look at the narration of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, it starts with mentioning the selling of a slave. But if you look at the narration of At-Tirmidhi, it starts with the nakhl. So the narration is flipped the other way. Now remember, Sufyan ibn Uyayna changed as he got older. Remember? Al-Layth ibn Sa'd didn't. So this would make automatically a plausible case for Layth ibn Sa'd's narration, and we would say that the narration in Imam Ahmad's Musnad is backwards, not that what is in At-Tirmidhi is backwards, because Layth ibn Sa'd is stronger. Not only that, Layth ibn Sa'd also wrote all of his ahadith. Sufyan, he didn't write them all. Okay. Tirmidhi says, and also fil bab, in this is there's a narration from Jabir and another narration from Ibn Umar, and they're all Hasan Sahih. And he says, and this is how it was narrated from many different people, from Az-Zuhri, from Salim, from Ibn Umar, and he mentions the hadith. Again, he says that's Salim's tariq. He says, and it was also narrated from Nafi', from Ibn Umar, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, now we need to pull up our document here, and we need to come down right here at the bottom, okay? Because now we're having a case being built. In the first position, we do not know, is it the Prophet or is it Umar? In the second position, we know for certain we have Ibn Umar, right? In the third position, we have two people, Salim and what? Nafi'. Salim and Nafi'. Okay. In the fourth position, from Salim, right? And Salim, who's narrating? Muhammad ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. But who's narrating from Nafi'? We have Malik. Who else do we have? Let's go back to what Tirmidhi was telling us here. And this is why we used to love Tirmidhi because he tries to gather everything for you. This is also narrating from Nafi' from Ibn Umar, and it was narrated from Nafi' from Ibn Umar from Umar. See that? That Umar said. Mumtaz. Let's go ahead and document this. And what we'll do is that we'll say, let's come back up here and let's write out these asanid. If it's from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith is marfu', then it's from Ibn Umar. Oh, afwan, let's do the other way around. I'll just do it this way. An Nabi, then we'll do Ibn Umar, then we'll do Salim, then we'll do Az-Zuhri. But in the narration of Nafi', Umar, and then Ibn Umar, then Nafi', then Malik. But no, we're not going to write Malik here. And the reason why we're not going to write Malik is that Zuhri is in the level of the teachers of Malik. So it would be more in tune with Nafi' rather than with Malik. Let's go back here, and he also says it's هكذا رواه عبيد الله بن عمر وغيره عن نافع. He says also from some of the people that narrated from Nafi' is عبيد الله. كلام جميل. طيب. وقد روى بعضهم هذا الحديث عن نافع عن ابن عمر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, however, there's also some that did it from the Prophet, from Ibn Umar, or is it from Umar? Yeah, and Ibn Umar from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Nafi' is in some. Okay, and of course we can come right here and call this marfu', and we'll come here and we'll say this is also marfu'. But this one right here would be what? Mawquf. He says, وروى عكرمة ابن خالد عن ابن عمر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نحو حديث سالم. Okay, ممتاز. He says there's another chain where it's from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, Ibn Umar, Nafi', then Ikrimah. Okay, and that's also marfu'. He says والعمل على هذا الحديث عند بعض أهل العلم وقول الجميع. Here, look this. Muhammad ibn Ismail Bukhari said the best chain that came in this is Az-Zuhri from Salim from his father from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tamam. So Al-Bukhari believes that the most authentic chain is this one right here. أصح ما في الباب عند Muhammad ibn Ismail. And of course, when Tirmidhi says Muhammad ibn Ismail, who's he speaking about? Al-Bukhari, his teacher. Tamam. So Al-Bukhari views that that chain right there is the most authentic chain. Okay. Now, in that case, Sufyan ibn Uyayna is okay if what Al-Bukhari says is accurate. Kalam Jamil. Now, we're going to move on to our Rijal discussion, okay? And most of our focus will be around those group of people. Of course, we're not going to look at the Prophet ﷺ. We're not going to look at Umar. We will look a little bit at Umar, but first we're going to start with Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Then we're going to look at Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. Okay, then we're also going to look at, well, let's finish that chain first. So Muhammad Shihab, Salim, and then we'll look a little bit at Abdullah ibn Umar. Okay, after that, we're going to go ahead and look at Nafi'. Then we're going to look, well, we don't have to look at Umar, Abdullah ibn Umar again at that point. Okay, so let's start with Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Let's pull back his Shamila. Let's close out all of this. Okay. Your first go-to book that you want to go to is Tahdhib al-Kamal. Okay, so let's What do you mean you can't find it? There you go. Now, Tahdhib al-Kamal is a book compiled by Imam al-Mizzi, and it's an edit of another book called Al-Kamal. Ibn Hajar, Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar, did a re-edit of the work, a little bit of summarization in a book called Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. I sent you an image in Telegram, okay, showing you a book called Taqrib al-Tahdhib. It's one volume with all of those names in it. And they should have it here in Shamila, Taqrib al-Tahdhib. Okay, it is a really good book to have right there close by. Mumtaz, Mumtaz. And once we end the text of Al-Bayquniyah, inshallah ta'ala, we're actually going to read the introduction of Taqrib al-Tahdhib so we can understand it. Because look, right there on the first page, what do we have? Is that the first page? Yep. Okay, it's odd. It's not what the first page is, but okay, whatever, we'll work with it. You'll see, he says right here, the 12th tabaqa. They are fulan and fulan and fulan. If you memorize these tabaqat, 50% of the time when you see a chain, you'll automatically be able to determine if that chain adds up or not. If just by understanding the introduction of Taqrib al-Tahdhib, studying it, understanding the breakdown that he's offering you, you will know how to determine the authenticity of a hadith. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and go to Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. So we'll just go to Mim. He starts in Mim with everyone named Muhammad. Why? Out of respect to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some books will actually start the whole book with Muhammad and Ahmad, out of respect to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now it's all alphabetical order. Look, they're all names Muhammad, but see their second name or their father's name, Alif Ba, Aban, Ibn Aban, and then Ibn Ibrahim. So we'll move forward. We're seeing Ibn Ahmad, we're seeing Ibn Ishaq. Where are we trying to get to? Muhammad ibn Shihab. So once he gets the letter Sheen in the father's names. So just simply scroll through. There we see the Seen. Now we should see Sheen coming up. Okay. Where must have bypassed it. Shumair, Shayba. Should be the next one then. Am I going blind? Nashrahbil ibn Shu'aib. That's so odd. I don't know why he did that then. Ajib. Unless he put him in the Al-Qab. Sometimes, if you look all the way here off to the right, you'll see something called the chapter of Al-Qab. But he's not really known for Al-Qab. I don't know why. La ilallah. Yeah, he's not going to mention him here. No, but let's just go back to Al-Mim. See, unless he, sometimes they'll write their names. No, it's not going to be like that. Okay, come on. Bismillah. Gee, but I wonder if the editor, let me just do this. No, this is not him, that's his nephew. What's going on? Okay, it might just be this copy then, something off with it. That's okay. We'll just go ahead and go back to Tahdhib al-Kamal as we were doing. I don't know, I think that copy of it, Taqrib, has something wrong with it. Again, these books on Shamila, somebody actually sat there and typed out the whole book. So sometimes you run into problems. We'll just use the index right here and scroll down to Muhammad ibn Shihab. الزهري. There we go. We're getting there. Bismillah. Let's just search it. Ahmed ibn Shihab. Okay. Let's do Zuhri. Oh, you know, it's probably why. Because it's not his full name. Duh. Yeah, his name is similar to, I just remembered seeing that on the screen. I just remembered. His full name is Muhammad ibn Muslim al-Zuhri. Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Let's see. Yeah, let's to there. Here we go. There's Abu Zubair al-Makki. Ajib. Here, let's research it. I don't know why. Bismillah. Yes, doing takhrij is a very prolonged activity and it's a lot of work. Oh, thank you for that note. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, nope. Are you reading out of Taqrib al-Tahdhib? Yeah. Bismillah. I bet you he probably added him into the nicknames at the end, but I don't want to jump there just yet. No, you're correct, Ya Sheikh Abdullah. But sadly, it's just not showing up here, and it should. The numbers are off. Let's see if it'll show up here. Yep, that's him right there. Here, I'll bring this all out to our document from Taqrib al-Tahdhib. Exactly like Sheikh Abdullah pointed out, the number there was 6296. Okay, Mumtaz. Now we're going to see more, but I just want to break this down real quick so we can go over it. So there's his full name, Karam Jamil. His kunya is Abu Bakr. He's a faqih. He's a hafiz. متفق على جلالته وإتقانه وثبته. That he's an accurate narrator. Mumtaz. Now let's break down this information. Ibn Hajar says he's from the fourth tabaqa. Think about a tabaqa as a generation. So if you have someone in the fourth tabaqa, it makes sense that someone in the sixth tabaqa is narrating for him, but not the 10th tabaqa. Okay, that wouldn't make sense. Someone narrating from his great-great-great-grandfather does not make sense. From his grandfather, sure. Rarely his great-grandfather, right? Rarely, but beyond that, you won't find it. So this is where the tabaqa concept comes into play. He died year 25, and it was said that he died year either before that, a year or two. Kalam Jamil. 25 what? Meaning 125. Kalam Jamil. Because he's from the 4th generation. Now, the letter in here means jama'ah, which means all of the 6 books. You'll find his ahadith in. Tamam? Now, where do I get his basic biography and the people he narrated from? We find that in Tahdhib al-Kamal. Let's bring it back. Tahdhib al-Kamal. See if I wrote it out in the same way, maybe it will help. The numberings are definitely off with this copy. I don't know why. If you're ever buying these books and you're buying the Mukhtasar, or you already have one and you're buying the rest, you need to make sure that they actually add up, meaning the sequence of numbers. Or you're going to go through this every time you look for a narrator or a narration. Let's do it this way. That's Abu Zubayr al-Makki. Okay, should be few narrators after him. Sahib al-Maqsura. Who's that? Ibn Susan? No. Keep on going. Nope, not Ibn A'ith. Here we go. For some reason, it's not in the index. That's why. That's why we couldn't find him. It wasn't indexed correctly. Kalam Jamil. Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, Abu Bakr al-Madani. So we want to take that into consideration. These are things you want to look for. Al-Madani. And we're going to add that in right here, right? Al-Madani. Now, this will become important as well. And that's the location the narrator is from. Because if you have a chain where a person is Madani, the next person is Dimashqi, the next person is Egyptian, the next person is from Yemen, that's a red flag. Okay? Why? Because, well, one, they didn't have internet back then, right? 2, traveling was a rarity. Yes, the scholars of hadith did it, but it still was a rarity. So to find or to have a chain like that, it does raise red flags. He's Madani, okay? Well, we know, again, from exposure to the science, that Sayyid ibn Abdullah is also Madani, and Abdullah ibn Umar is Madani, Kalam Jamil. And we also know that Malik is Madani, and we know that Nafi' is Madani. So it adds up the fact that he is Madani. Let's read on. Second Ash-Sham, he did move to Isham later on. قال الزبير بن بكار, that's one of the scholars of Rijal and history. His mother, meaning Zuhri's mother, is from Bani Dayl. But Khalifa ibn Khayyat said that his mother's full name is Amma bint Ahban, etc. to the end, bin ad-Dayl. Kalam Jamil. Muhammad ibn Sa'd said no, his mother is Aisha bint Abdullah al-Akbar. It's not a big issue here since that has to do with his mother, not him. We need to know about him. Okay. طيب. He says روى عن أبان ibn Uthman ibn Affan. Jamil. And there's a lot of contention on that problem. Why? Because Aban died young. Az-Zuhri is from the 4th tabaqa. That would be kind of difficult. Wabrahim ibn Abdullah ibn Hunayn. And see, right next to that name, it says Dal Ta Sa. So you'll find those hadith from Az-Zuhri, from Abdullah ibn Hunayn in Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, and An-Nasa'i. Wabrahim ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. That's a theme now. We're going to start seeing a theme here. Who was that first person? Aban, the son of Uthman ibn Affan. While there's contention, did they meet? But that's a son of a Sahabi. Ibrahim, the son of Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Ismail ibn Muhammad ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. And he met Anas ibn Malik, which would make sense. Anas is from the younger generation of the Sahaba. So if he's narrating from the students and the children of the Sahaba, then Anas ibn Malik would make sense as well. Uwais ibn Abi Uwais, Thabit ibn Qais al-Zurqi, Tha'laba ibn Abi Malik al-Quradi, Jabir ibn Abdullah. It's Abu Dawud. Yuqalu mursal. It is said that he didn't actually meet Jabir, but he narrates from him via someone else. Jamil. Again, who are we looking for? Let's open up our document to remind ourselves. We're looking for Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri's relationship to Salim ibn Abdullah. Okay, that's where our focus is. Right, let's go back. And if you look, you see the names are actually alphabetized as well. Jim, Ha, Tamam, Kha, Ra, Rafi ibn Khadij, Al-Rabi' ibn Sabra, Rabi'a, Silman. Now we're getting to it, but we need Salim. Look, وسالم ibn Abdullah ibn Umar. Okay, mumtaz. In this book, what Al-Mizzi did and what Mughlatai did before him and what Ibn Hajar did after him is that they investigated these bonds and these relationships. Kalam Jamil. Now they'll write a name if there's doubts of that muhadatha, that meeting between them, they point it out. Like they just said Jabir ibn Abdullah, waqil, or yuqal, that he took Jabir ibn Abdullah's hadith from another source, not directly from Jabir. Look, if we look, we'll see more if we look around. Here we go. Abdullah ibn al-Harith ibn Nawfal, right? He says, and it was said he didn't hear anything from him. Mumtaz. طيب. If we continue to go on, we'll start to move on to those that narrated from him. So we'll just keep on going through until we finish all of this. Look, here's the ya. What comes after the ya in the names of the narrators? Then they move on to those who only have a kunya. Abil Ahwas. So after the ya, the last letter in the alphabet, right? They move on to names that are based on kunya. Abil Ahwas, Abi Idris, Abi Umama, Abi Bakr. After that, they move on to women. وعمرة بنت عبد الرحمن وهند ibn al-Harith. And then if there's people that are known by their nicknames, such as Al-Kawsaj. Al-Kawsaj is a person that does not have a beard, or it's very, very, very light. There's a scholar of hadith, he's known as Al-Kawsaj. Kalam Jamil. He says, Rawa anhu, those that narrated from him. Who do we want to see? Let's go back to our document. Who do we want to see narrating from Muhammad ibn Shihab? Let's scroll back up. We have Sufyan ibn Uyayna, so we want to see Sufyan ibn Uyayna there. We want to see Al-Layth ibn Sa'd there. Jameen. Those are two names that we definitely want to see. Okay, let's go back and look. So we're looking for Sufyan ibn Uyayna and Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. Scroll through. Bismillah. Here we have Sufyan ibn Uyayna. No restrictions. We would still want to go look in Tahdhib al-Tahdhib just to see if Ibn Hajar updated, because remember, Ibn Hajar comes after Al-Mizzi. So that's an additional review to these names and these narrators. So Sufyan ibn Uyayna is there. So he is one of his students. Let's look for Layth ibn Sa'd before we move on. So we're still in letter Ain. There's Qaf coming up. There's Mim. Lam will come after that. There's Muhammad ibn Munkadir, Musa ibn Yasar, Al-Nu'man. We're not seeing Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. This could be one of two reasons. Number one, none of the ahadith of Al-Layth ibn Sa'd from Ibn Shihab are in the 6 books, but they are. Yet, see, this is Tirmidhi, right? This is Tirmidhi. Yet, it's not mentioning here in Tahdhib al-Kamal Al-Layth ibn Sa'd as being one of the students. Let's go back. Maybe we overlooked it. I did overlook it. There we go. He's right there. All right. Now, after they mention all of the teachers and all of the students, they start mentioning what they or how they classified that person's narrations. He says, ذكره, meaning he was mentioned, this narrator, Muhammad ibn Sa'd in his طبقات, in الطبقة الرابعة من أهل المدينة, the fourth generation of the people of Medina. ممتاز. And al-Bukhari said, or he quoted from Ali ibn al-Madini, that az-Zuhri has gathered alone, uniquely to him, around 2,000 ahadith. And Abu Mas'ud, Ahmad ibn al-Furat al-Razi, said there is no one that has as good of quality of ahadith such as az-Zuhri. And Abu Ubaid al-Ajuri said that Abu Dawood said az-Zuhri has over 1,000 ahadith. They're all from thiqat. Jameel. And then I think this is still Abu Dawood. He says that the hadith of Zuhri, or all of his ahadith, are 1,200 ahadith. Half of them and a couple hundred more are from thiqat. As for the ahadith that they have doubt on, they won't even amount to 50 ahadith that there's problems with. And he says, and the ikhtilaf that we might have is some people narrating something that maybe other people didn't, and so on. So they're very minor issues when it comes to his ahadith. Muhammad ibn Yahya ibn Abi Umar said that Sufyan said, I saw Zuhri with a red hair and a red beard. And it was so red that he almost looked like he has katm on it. Basically, he had a lot of hinna on it. It was really bright. Kalam Jameel. وقال الحميدي from Sufyan, I saw Zuhri, basically same thing. Al-Dhuhli said that Abdul Razzaq, meaning Abdul Razzaq al-San'ani, he told Ma'mar, did az-Zuhri receive a hadith from Ibn Umar directly? And Ma'mar said, yes, only 2 though. But we don't know which ones those are. Based upon this information, others might have it documented, but that would require additional information if we wanted to find it. Ahmad ibn Abdullah al-Ijli, he said, az-Zuhri az-Zuhri met some of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. From them are Anas ibn Malik, Sahl ibn Sa'd, Abdul Rahman ibn Azhar, and Mahmud ibn Rabi' al-Ansari. And he narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar around 3 ahadith. And he also narrated from As-Sa'ib ibn Yazid. And Abu Bakr ibn Manjawih said that Az-Zuhri met 10 of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and he had the best memorization out of all of the people of his era, Jameel, and he presented them the best, and he was a respectful and acceptable faqih. Muhammad ibn Sa'd said that Az-Zuhri was thiqah, and he narrated a lot, and he had knowledge of what he was narrating. So he was a faqih that had both ulum. Because remember, not every muhaddith is a faqih, and just having a hadith does not make you a faqih. He says, and Sa'id ibn Abdul Aziz said about Zuhri that Zuhri said, I sat with Sa'id ibn Musayyab for 6 years studying. Abdul Razzaq said that Ma'mar said that Zuhri said, I sat with Sa'id ibn Musayyab 8 years, my knees touching his knees, continuously studying, etc. as they go on. Here's a question. You said Muhammad ibn Abi Shayba and Abdul Razzaq, are they? Okay. Abdul Razzaq, he's a San'ani that has his own. And he's a Yemeni. Ma'mar is also a Yemeni that has a little bit, not as much as Ma'mar. the Ibn Abi Shaybah. I didn't mention Ibn Abi Shaybah, but if you're speaking about Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, yeah, I didn't mention Ibn Abi Shaybah. But Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, yes, he has his own Musannaf, but I didn't mention him. I mentioned Abdul Razzaq al-San'ani, who does as well have his own Musannaf. Kalam Jameel. He says, Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi said that Malik said that Zuhri said that I sat with Sayyid ibn Musayyab 10 years, and it was like one day. Now, there's no contradiction, even though the last one said 6 and then 8, and now it says 10. He might not even paid attention to time, right? And by him saying it felt like it was one day, meaning that it wasn't enough. He wanted more ilm. Says Ibrahim ibn Sa'd said from his father that Ibn Shihab, he was ahead of us. Kalam Jamil. And Sa'd here is from the same generation as Zuhri. So he's saying that Zuhri beat us in ilm. Kalam Jamil. He's saying that he wouldn't mind asking hard questions and digging and trying to learn, and we would be shy to ask questions. But he was active, asking and learning. That's how student of knowledge should be, right? Where you're excessively asking, you're continuously researching and diving in to learn more and more. So as you can see, they're continuing to go on to speak about different things. But once we continue to move, we should start seeing more jarh and ta'dil issues, meaning problems. Oh, here's another question. Let's read what it says. So if the tabi'i, if he's a tabi'i, is he considered a fourth, or why is he considered a fourth tabaqa? Is it because he was a very young tabi'i? Beautiful question. I'll tell you why. First, we have the elder Sahaba, right? Those are people like Abu Bakr and Umar. Then you have the younger Sahaba, people like Anas, and that would be your second tabaqa. Then you have your mukhadram, the people that were Muslim, they lived around the same time of the Prophet ﷺ, but never met him. Then you're going to have the early generation of the tabi'een. More than likely, they're going to be acquainted with the younger generation of the Sahaba, and then some of the children of the elder generation of the Sahaba. So that would be your fourth tabaqa, fourth generation. And we're gonna read the introduction of Taqrib al-Tahdhib, which would clarify and give us a little bit more details. تمام. طيب. من أفقه أهل المدينة. Okay, we'll move forward on that. Let's see if he should be quoting issues. He's still just showing their praise. Okay. Oh, this is a very good one for us to help us understand this narrator more. It says Al-Walid ibn Muslim عن سعيد ibn Abdul Aziz. Now, even though this is not a hadith, you have to have a red flag right here, because Al-Walid ibn Muslim is that narrator that I mentioned to you before, who does a lot of tadlis. Kalam Jamil. But in all cases, he said that Hisham ibn Abdul Malik asked Zuhri to narrate to some of his children some ahadith. Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, the Khalifa, right? So he ordered someone to come and write down the ahadith. So the Zuhri gave them 400 ahadith. Then Zuhri left Hisham. Then he said, "Where are you people of hadith?" So I think this is Hisham again saying this. So then Zuhri went back and gave them give them the same 400 hadith to another group, basically. Then he met Hisham a month later, and then Hisham said that the book that had the 400 hadith got lost. So Zuhri told him, "That's okay, have the writer come back and I'll give them back the same 400 ahadith." Hisham was actually hiding the first book. So once Zuhri left, Hisham, he matched it up with the previous 400 and it turned out that there was not even one letter difference between that which he had given them a month prior. Kalam Jamil. طيب, ممتاز. So obviously his memorization was really strong. Okay, I'm trying to find. He should have it here. So you speak about it now. He's moving on to birth and death. I don't think. Yeah, he didn't do it. Okay. So the point that I was trying to make, just so we don't waste any of our time, is that as Zuhri, he fell into some problems as he got older in some of his narrations. And I was trying to see that, but I don't think Al-Mizzi had all the information. We'll have to look back on that, inshallah ta'ala. But today we're going to stop here, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We went over the basic search for a text. We went over some of the sources, Kalam Jamil. We went over some of the codes used by the scholars of hadith. We noticed that there was a mawquf and marfu' variations of the same hadith. We saw that the main chains are from the Prophet ﷺ, from Ibn Umar, from Salim, from Zuhri, or from the Prophet ﷺ, from Ibn Umar, from Nafi', from the Prophet ﷺ, from Ibn Umar, from Nafi', from Ikrimah, and from Umar, from Ibn Umar, Nafi', and then Ubaydillah ibn Umar. And we could also add in there, just for our notes, Umar from Ibn Umar, right? From Nafi', from Malik, just for our notations as well. And this one was mawquf as well. Now, as we said, we're not going to go over the Prophet ﷺ. We will go over Ibn Umar, inshallah ta'ala. But right now we're focusing on Az-Zuhri, and then we're going to move on to Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, so we can make sure that he actually met his father. For example, Abu Ubaidah, the son of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, never met his father. Yet he narrates many ahadith from his father. How's that so? Because his father's student, Abu al-Ahwas, the Tabi'i, was the teacher of Abu Ubaidah, the son of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So now we have this issue. Did Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab actually meet Abdullah ibn Umar? And where can we verify that Az-Zuhri actually studied with Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab? And then we'll go over Nafi', inshallah ta'ala. In our next class, we'll finish that up, and then we'll continue on our poetry, inshallah ta'ala. And please do, find another hadith as well. I will share this document for your notes in Telegram, but please remember, in our next class, we'll continue our documentation of our finding, inshallah ta'ala. So don't add anything into the file in your notes. Do that on a separate file. And inshallah ta'ala, in our next class, once we complete our work on this hadith and everything we wanted to explore, then you can add things onto it. So right before next week's class, just delete the file from your computer, so that way you can have the latest one and you don't get them confused, inshallah ta'ala. We'll stop here. Definitely review the file. If you have any questions that come up, feel free to ask me. There's a lot more to all of this. On average, it used to take me by hand a minimum of 2 weeks to do takhrij of one hadith. We're technically a quarter of the way done in under an hour. So new technology is great and all. However, if I were to go to some of my hadith mashayikh back in Egypt and I told them that I'm using a shamila, they might disown me altogether. This stuff is to be done by hand, because as you can see, we had a problem finding a Zuhri because it was misindexed. It wasn't correct in the index. Kalam Jamil, and also I forgot his middle name. So it's a lot of work. It takes time to learn, but once you get the hang of it, it's fun. It's fun doing the research and trying to determine. By the time we finish this, inshallah ta'ala, we'll come to the understanding that the true structure of the matn. Is it the slave being mentioned first, or is it the palm trees being mentioned first? and the most authentic chain. And yes, we hear what al-Bukhari said, but that still requires a little bit more research, inshallah ta'ala, which we'll do in our following classes. Here we'll stop بإذن الله. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله تعالى لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.